Welcome everyone to Not That Media. My name is John, and in today's video I just want to go over my merchandise haul that I picked up during my April 2024 stay at Alton Towers Resort. I also want to spend a little bit of time giving you some tips, tricks and hacks that will hopefully save you some time, maybe a little bit of money, and hopefully improve your experience when you go to the park. So come along with me as I go through my merchandise and give you some tips for Alton Towers. So this video is going to be a little bit off the cuff in that although I've made some notes, I am just going to be giving my thoughts and opinions as I go through. I haven't spent too much time overly thinking about our experience. You just can't beat the map. So the first thing I recommend anybody picking up is a map, and they're a really good time capsule of the resort at that moment in time. Obviously, as we went, the Nemesis Reborn ride was relatively new, so obviously they're advertising this. When we went to the park, another piece of advice I would give is always look around at the various things. So one thing that happened when we went was when you walked through the main entrance, there were these little kind of like pond areas, and they had frogs in them. And at first glance, like fake frogs I should say, at first glance you wouldn't really pay that much attention to them. But when we went up, they were actually dressed in the tactical vests that the actors are wearing for this ride. So they've gone to the trouble of actually, I want to say it's Phalanx is the name of the organisation responsible for the Nemesis creature being released. The frogs at the front gate were dressed in Phalanx uniforms, and it's something that you just walk past, you wouldn't pay attention to. So the point is that the theming right now is Nemesis Reborn, and this is a great time capsule to say, okay, when I went that time, this was the main ride. Alton Towers, and I don't know if the other parks such as Thorpe Park and Chessington are following this suit, are doing a set of ride-based magnets. Now, I'm going to put these up. Let me get that out of the way, actually. I'm going to put these up here, and I know from this distance you're not going to be able to see them, but I'll put, as I say, a proper clearer picture around here somewhere. But for each ride, or the main ticket ride, I should say, you can get these jigsaw pieces, and as you put them together, they fit nicely into this little kind of train of jigsaw pieces. Now we bought for this trip the Wicker Man, Nemesis Reborn, 13 and Galactica, and the reason we did that was these were the rides that we went on. They did have the Smiler and Rita, I believe, but I didn't want to buy those because I didn't see the point in buying something when I hadn't been on the ride. So that's an excuse to go back next time, A, to ride the rides, but B, to pick up another piece of merchandise. So I think these are really neat. I really like them. The colours are distinctive. When you get a proper look at them up front, you can see that you can see what the ride is. So these were £6 each without discount, but I thought these were really nice, really neat. The Smiler one I think was bright yellow, and I don't recall what the colour of the Rita one was. So another magnet that I bought, and I'm going to take this out separately just because the bulk of my purchases actually came from the Curse of Alton Manor. It will be no surprise, certainly in that first video, but also the second video, that ride stood out to me as something really special, and the merchandise that came with it I was really impressed with as well. So this magnet, it's a nice and simple one. It's just a black rectangle with the Curse of Alton Manor on it. Again, there'll probably be a better quality picture appearing as I show this. I don't recall how much this retailed for. I have kept all of my receipts, and as I say, the various prices will pop up. But I just thought that was quite nice and smart. Just a nice little black square, or rectangle. Stick it on the fridge. And as I say, they didn't do one for the jigsaw piece for Alton Manor, so it was just nice to be able to say, oh, Craig, these are the rides that we went on. So speaking of the big thrill rides, I think that's a nice way to get to Photo Pass. Now Photo Pass, I believe per ride, per photo, works out to about £12 each if my memory serves correctly, but you could buy a day pass for £25, which is unlimited photos on unlimited rides. It doesn't actually matter if you go on, as we did, Alton Manor 3 or 4 times in a day, you will get that 3 or 4 photos. So my recommendation to you is if you are going to get if you're going to go on more than 2 of these big thrill rides, and not even the big thrill rides, but just more than a couple of rides that have photo passes, and you want to keep memories, buy the photo pass. You can buy it in advance, I think, for £25, and we paid on the day £25. So although I think online they were marketing it as kind of a discounted rate, it was the same rate. On the second day, we paid £30 for the pass because the passes are per day. That's my only kind of complaint, is we had to pay £25 per day. You can buy for £75 an annual photo pass, and that might be something we look into in the future. But at the time, there wasn't really intention of going multiple times like that. So day one, £25 more out of the excitement, and day two, as we couldn't actually go on a number of rides that we wanted to on day one, it was just fitting to get the pass again. But on day two, we paid £30 for the photo pass, which enabled us to get 2 printed photographs. I won't show them because for this trip, me and Joe were keeping our ride photos private to ourselves, but that's not to say in future videos we won't include those pictures as and when we go on those rides. But for an extra £5, you can get 2 prints. They come in a nice little booklet, which gives you a little bit of an overview of the park and the history and a few bits and pieces. So it's a nice little souvenir. And if you're intending to spend £25 to get yourself a photo pass, why not go the extra £5, and then you can get yourself a couple of prints. So the next ride we purchased merchandise for was 13. Now Joe and I had never been on 13, and I have to say I was very impressed with it. It was leaning on the darker side of theming. I have to confess, because Joe and I didn't do any research in advance because we wanted to go in and just experience it. Future trips we will probably do research. I want to get into a little bit more deep diving, not quite to the extent where it's just giving away all the magic and all the tricks, but it's quite nice to actually go on the ride knowing the story. And sometimes you either have to do all the research in advance, so effectively you've ruined the ride because you know what's coming, or you have to ride it multiple times. Now, as you may recall, on the day the weather was just crazy on my day one video. So 13 was, I think, the longest ride we waited for on day one, certainly. Day two, it was the Spinball Whizzer, but that was more for different reasons because the ride time was just totally out. But the rain was terrible. The ride had a very long queue. So unlike other rides, which I'll touch on later, it wasn't really a ride that we could ride multiple times in one day. It's definitely something we'll go back to. Absolutely loved it. It's a kind of a really interesting hybrid of a roller coaster. It does things you might not know. Sometimes it's going forward, sometimes back, sometimes it's doing other things that I don't want to mention. The theming is spectacular. You're in the dark. It's genuinely creepy. Everyone on our coaster was screaming and freaked out to some extent when we got to the end. So it was a real thumbs up from Joe and I. So with that, I just wanted to pick up a couple of things. So picked up a 13 pen. Not really a whole lot to say about the pen, to be fair. It's just a pen. It's black and green with the 13 logo on it. It's got the green theming in keeping with the rest of the theming for this ride. So yeah, it's just a pen. Again, I can't really say too much more about that. One more thing I did pick up, which I really liked, which is the Don't Go Alone 13 pin, which has that kind of moving lenticular effect when you move it from side to side. I'm a really big fan of pins. I love to collect pins. Disney saw me coming when I got to those parks, so Alton Towers is the same. Alton Towers has got a plethora of pins, and I had to really control myself on this trip because it was one of those situations where you go not intending to buy anything, and across the time we were there, I bought a fair bit. The other thing we picked up, quite simply because we needed something to carry everything in, was the 13 tote bag. So nice and simple. It's just the black with the green 13. It's the same on the front and the back. Pick this up just because I liked the look of it. Now, we didn't pick up anything Nemesis related, or Nemesis Reborn related, I should say. Probably going to save that for another trip. I really enjoyed the Nemesis merchandise, and I kind of do regret not picking up one or two bits. So the main bulk of what I purchased came from, and again, it'll probably be no surprise whatsoever, Alton Manor. The first thing I bought, and I can see it was £22, was a large Alton Manor t-shirt. So it's on the front, it's just the purple with a purple embossed curves of Alton Manor, which is stitched in nicely. And on the back, keeping with the theming, you have the hand saying "You're mine." So yeah, I was really impressed with this, really liked it. Just wanted to pick that up because again, I really enjoyed this ride. I then also purchased on a following trip the hoodie, which is exactly the same in styling, it has to be said. So again, it's the purple, there's the hood, whoops, I'm just knocked one of the jigsaw pieces off. There's the hood, you can see it's the same purple with the same stitch to the Curse of Alton Manor. And again on the back again, it's the same You're Mine with the hand reaching down. So, and again, the same logo on the wrist. One thing I would say about this is the quality of both the t-shirt and the jumper is really good. I really like the material. It's really soft, it's really good quality. It looks like it's going to be durable. The inside hood is quite a nice dark, lighter shade of purple. Again, I really like this. One thing I did pick up, which is just a kind of a side item, although it does obviously relate to the Alton Towers haunted house, was this book. Which is known as Smoke and Mirrors, The Haunted House of Alton Towers. This is not a new book. I believe it's 2012 this was released. Yeah, 2012. You can pick this up on Amazon. You don't need to go into the parks to pick this up. And they had another one which was a Nemesis version. But basically, this charts the creation of the original haunted house at Alton Towers, goes through the detail of the decisions being made from the original concept all the way up until when it was retired and it became the interactive zombie blasting game Duel. It's really good. It's a colour book, so you get nice colour pictures in it. It goes through loads of different pieces, loads of history, recognises the talent behind the creation of it. I'm always a big fan of these kind of things because if the ride really reaches out and kind of makes you kind of really feel something, I instantly want to know more about it. I love a ghost train. What I would say, obviously, is this has absolutely nothing to do with the Alton Manor Curse ride, but it's in the gift shop. I really like the look of it. I had a little look through it before I purchased it, and I was very impressed with it. But there's absolutely nothing Alton Manor related in this, but from what I've read, it looks good. I'll probably use it in future videos to deep dive into the history of that particular section of the park. But yeah, Smoke and Mirrors, The Haunted House of Alton Towers. Yeah, really impressed with that. I believe this was about, I want to say £14. And I think if you're getting it off Amazon, it's literally about 25p cheaper to buy it on Amazon, free delivery. The difference is, and this isn't an Amazon video, but the difference is obviously you can get a copy in your hand in the park and make sure it's okay, because it's paperback, it's quite flimsy in terms of that, and we all know how nicely Amazon take care of books when it comes to deliveries. So yeah, recommend that, looking forward to reading that. So the other item I bought was a pin, and I quite like this pin, Curse of Alton Manor pin. This is a holdover, is what I would say, from all the different iterations of the ride. So, but I quite like, whereas the 13 badge is obviously obvious, it's literally got 13 on the front of it. A badge like this, it does say Curse of Alton Manor on the back of it, but a badge like this doesn't necessarily scream theme park or a particular ride. So as a badge or pin collector, I do like pins that aren't necessarily as obvious as others. So I quite like that one. Whether or not I'll wear it, I don't know, but I just liked it. So one thing I picked up as well, which I just quite liked because I just really loved this theming, was it's in the shape of a postcard, but it's I'm going to say lenticular, but I might be wrong. But it was a postcard depicting Emily Alton from the Curse of Alton Manor. It does move, and she does do the eye covering, and the back is covered in all the iconography of the You're Mine and all the stuff that's splattered all over the walls on the ride and in the gift shop as well. It was just cool. This is kind of the look, the main iconography of the ride itself. So I just really liked it. Again, it's just that kind of cool thing to have. So the last item I purchased is another Alton Towers, Alton Manor item. No surprise, as I say, because this section's Alton Manor. I think this was, I want to say it's £3, and again, it's just an extension of the book. This is just a notebook. Again, it's got Emily Alton on the front. It's got the theming on the back again of the Your Mine and all the writing and the handprints, but it's got the movement. It's just a little book. It's just a little themed book, lined paper. You can see it's got the Alton Manor logo and that kind of slightly cracked effect from the manor. I quite like to have a notepad. I quite like to write ideas, thoughts, notes, particularly now that I've raised or created this channel. I want to make sure I can write things. So I just wanted to pick this up more out of a thought that when I eventually do more content on this particular ride, it'd just be nice to have a ride style notebook. Okay, so with that, and I hope you did enjoy seeing what I purchased, I will in future spend a bit more time going through the merchandise shops as and when we go to it. As I say, the Alton Towers trip was as much a personal trip as it was an attempt to do a vlog. It was the first time, so I am conscious that as I did the video, things were maybe a little bit fast. I was talking a little too quickly. Obviously I was out of breath quite a bit, so I hope you did enjoy those 3 vlogs, because obviously there was the hotel room as well, and certainly it's something that I'll be doing a lot more of in the future. So if you have any thoughts or suggestions or anything in particular you want to see, do comment, do message, do like and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with these things. But it's something that I do intend to do quite a lot more of in the future. So speaking of being a little bit out of breath in the park, obviously one of the tips that I want to give people, and I know this may sound like absolute common sense, but the first one that Joe and I was talking about was the need for comfortable shoes. Now we went 2 days with a night stay, and we went for an extra day the following week, and on all 3 of those days we averaged approximately 17,000 steps each day. So comfortable shoes are a necessity. If you are somebody, and I appreciate I keep drawing comparisons, but hopefully people overseas will see these videos and they might have these kind of thoughts or questions. But if you go to, say, for example, Disney World and Universal, the majority of the parks are flat. So you're walking just simply on a flat surface. You're not really on much of a gradient. I think the worst gradient I can remember seeing was in the Magic Kingdom, which was the slope from the floor up to Cinderella's castle. That was about the highest gradient we walked. Alton Towers is all over the place in terms of surface. It's constantly going up, down, steep steps. Because it's an old existing tower, the steps are eroded and worn to that stage where they have that fantastic kind of like slightly curved effect. So you will be walking a lot. You'll be going up and down floors all the time. So comfortable shoes, practical shoes are an absolute must when you go to this park. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The next one, which I think is really quite an important one, is eating in the park. Now, when Joe and I went for the 2 days, we did not bring anything with us. So all the food we ate and all the drink we drank was purchased in the park. Now, it is expensive. It's a theme park, so it's going to be expensive. It's not quite as expensive as I was expecting it to be in some cases, but it is very expensive for what it is. Costa Coffee, as a little side point, is the brand of choice in the park. So if you are not a Costa Coffee fan, if you are a Starbucks person all the way, you're going to have a problem because they only serve Costa Coffee. Also as well, a little side point, they're not official Costa Coffee stalls. So if you have a Costa app, you can't claim beans, you can't claim drinks off it in that kind of a way. These are Alton Towers vendors who are licensed to sell Costa Coffee. I did witness a gentleman trying to claim bits and pieces on his app and getting a little bit frustrated because they were telling him that although there was a great big Costa Coffee sign right next to them, it wasn't actually a Costa Coffee. The wording actually says we serve Costa Coffee or something like that. So Costa Coffee is the brand of choice. One of the things that as I'm talking about food, we decided to test more out of personal necessity rather than actually a proper test was packed lunches. When we went for the first 2 days, which is what I was saying a moment ago, the roller coaster restaurant was £50 for 2 people. The meal at the Secret Garden was about £50 for two people. We are two adults, so if you have a two adult, two children setup, or a small family or group of friends and you're all splitting things, it can quickly become a very expensive trip. Even though the tickets, and I will say the tickets entry prices are actually very reasonable for what you get. I think if you order in advance, it can be normally about £29 or £35 depending on time of year and things like that. So actually, entry is very reasonable, I think, in my opinion. Of course, that comes with the caveat that everything in the park isn't necessarily as reasonable as we would like it to be. There are other eateries in there which we are going to look at. There was an all-you-can-eat pizza place. There was a few other restaurants and things all over the place. There was a burger place we looked at, but again, you're talking about £14 a burger, so it can get expensive. So for the follow-up trip we did for the one day, we wondered how much, if you take a packed lunch, how much do you need to buy in the park? So we took a normal packed lunch, absolutely no issue from security, no problems, nothing was checked. They check your bags obviously, but no issues taking in packed lunch. So straight up front you can take a packed lunch in. We took normal sandwiches, fruits, and a couple of chocolate bars for the road, and we purchased nothing else. We didn't need to buy any snacks. We didn't need to buy any cakes or anything like that. We bought a coffee purely because it was cold and I wanted a hot drink. So that was about £6.80 for two after discount. So all in all, we spent on food and drink £7 on the follow-up day, as opposed to the £100 we spent on the first day. So it is entirely possible to do it. If you were trying to get out of that environment and have something to eat, if you take a packed lunch, what Joe and I did, we went to the I believe it was called the Tower, which is in the Alton Towers garden. There should be a picture just to give you an idea of our view. And we sat there quietly about 11 o'clock. We saw some birds, we looked at the sights, we looked at the gardens, we sat and ate. A few people went past, no real problems, and it was a really nice experience. So in the middle of all the running around and fast rides and screaming and shouting and lights and noise and everything else, if you want to save a few pounds, you want to just get slightly out of that experience without leaving the park, I do really recommend take a packed lunch for everybody, get yourself into the Alton Towers gardens. There's plenty of seats, there's plenty of views, there's coverage, so if it's raining you can just sit under the shelter in the rain, just watch everything go past. You can sit and do a little bit of crowd watching, just watch the animals flying around. It's a really good experience. So I mentioned it just a second ago, but I'll go through it. The weather. The 3 days we went, the first 2 days, the weather was all over the place. It was hailing, it was raining, it was sleeting, it was bright sun, it was wind. It was just all over the place. We took raincoats. Admittedly, Joe told me to take my raincoat, otherwise I probably wouldn't have bothered, so I'm not sitting here like a saint saying, oh yeah, I did this. Do pack for weather. Even if the apps and the weather report tell you it's going to be nice and sunny, pack for it. As always, and this is very common in theme parks, as soon as the rain hits, everyone goes flying into the shops. Everyone's standing, crowding in doorways, so you can't having to battle your way through people, agitated children, angry parents because they can't do anything. Me and Joe, we had our raincoats, we put our hoods up, and we kept going, and we had a great time. We went on the the rapids when it was absolutely throwing it down with rain. We were already wet, so we got wetter. We were just laughing our heads off. We were just going from place to place. The wait times for the dark rides, although they were non-existent for most of the day anyway, became even easier to get on. Do not let the rain or the weather be a reason to stop you doing anything in the park. Dress for the occasion, take the raincoats, take the ponchos, be ready, stick it on and just keep going, because it's just, for me, it's British weather. It's totally unreliable. It's just not worth the hassle of going all that way, spending all this money to spend an hour and a half, or jumping between doorways, going into gift shops and not going on anything and then complaining you didn't go. Honestly, prepare, be there in advance with stuff that you know may happen, and you'll be absolutely fine. One quick hack that I found, and this is really good if you have brought packed lunches, is if you bring disposable plastic bottles, so you bring your Coke bottles, your Fanta, your water bottles, your smart water bottle, because we purchased a smart water bottle. Throughout the park, as long as you don't mind keeping them in your bag and just having them ready, throughout the park there are these machines that are recycling machines. And if you recycle in these machines, you get given a receipt. Now, the receipt can give you a number of different things. It's essentially a competition. So you put one bottle in and you can do it one at a time. Don't put them all in, just stop, do one, get your receipt, do another. You put it in, and you can win a VIP experience at Alton Towers. Now, obviously, that's the big ticket item, so you're not necessarily guaranteed to get anything like that. But what we did get, and again, as a nice little hack, so save yourself some money, is we got a QR code for the Hungry Horse. It says, "You're brilliant. Thank you for recycling your plastic bottle at Britain's greatest escape." But wait, there's more. There's a surprise waiting for you and from our friends at the Hungry Horse. Scan this QR code. So I scanned the QR code, and we got a free starter or pudding for this. So again, if you come into the park with your own bottles or disposable bottles, you have your lunch, you've got all the family, so you've got 5 or 6 of these bottles, this is a really good little hack to go and get yourself some free food outside of the park. So absolutely, I was really impressed with this, because otherwise it would have just ended up in one of the many bins around the park. They're next to, the ones we found are next to the vending machines or the freestyle machines. So keep an eye out for these things. But I thought this was a really cool little motivator for recycling. It's a great little hack, and who knows, you might be lucky enough to win the VIP experience or something in between. And again, this may come across as a little bit of a well, duh moment, but download the app. Download the Alton Towers app, not just because it gives you an interactive map, but it then can become your storage base for your photo pass, your hotel stay, your tickets for the park, getting in and out of the park. Absolutely do download that. It can give you the wait times when it's up and working properly. It can make you aware of the closures. It can give you links to all the other bits and pieces. Do not feel that having another app on your phone is an inconvenience in this, and it's free. You don't need to sign up to the app for it to work. If you want to link your photo pass or your tickets or anything like that, you have to sign up. So all it is your email address. You can opt out of merchandise and email offers and things like that. So it's absolutely worth doing. Totally recommend it. So one of the main tips or discussion points that I wanted to go over was the monorail. Now, during our hotel stay, which was 2 days, day 1 we used the monorail, and day 2 we walked and used the hotel only entrance, which is located at the back of the park. If you are a standard guest, as we were when we made our subsequent trip, we parked in the standard car park, which is ironically right next to the hotel car park. So you're talking feet when it comes to the distance between the hotel car park and the general car park. So they're literally next to each other. Both lead to the monorail. The monorail, when you arrive there, has the nice big Alton Towers logo. It's nice and big and blue. It looks all very exciting. The music's playing, and it should be the beginning of a very positive experience. This is not to say it is not a positive experience, but I just feel it's important to give you my opinion. Doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. But what I would say straight up front is, if you get to the monorail and the queue is coming out of the building, you are looking at approximately a 40 to 45 minute wait from that point. If you can get in and you go around the corner and you start to go up the slope, you're looking, again, 20 to 30 minutes wait, depending obviously on the time, the number of people, etc. If you're like me, and I would assume you would be if you were going to the park, you want to be there at open. So even if you, as we did, show up at 9:15 to 9:30, there is always a queue for the monorail. It then turned out, or transpired on the first day, that we were about halfway through the queue, and they put out an announcement on the tannoy to say that the wait time for the monorail was approximately 30 minutes. If we would prefer, we could walk from the monorail to the front door, which is about a 15-minute walk, they said. Alternatively, if we are paying hotel guests, we can use the 5-minute walk to the hotel guest entrance, which I'll touch on in a minute. Being the way I am and wanting to experience everything and film everything and all this kind of stuff, I said, no, we're going to stay on the monorail. I want to stay on the monorail. Luckily, so we went round and went through, but luckily, because we were only a couple, we were able to actually jump a good chunk of the queue. A member of staff walked slightly down the queue saying, is there two? And well, obviously it was yes, so we got to jump forward, much to the pleasure of those in front of us. So we got on and we went on. The monorail, by comparison to Disney World's monorail, for example, Alton Towers is a very functional monorail. I don't know why they've done this. Well, I know why they've done this, but it's a big mistake to me, is they've covered each of the monorails in these stickers to theme them, which is great on the outside. When it pulls up, it looks fantastic. You're, oh, wow, jungle theme or Nemesis theme, whatever it is. As soon as the doors close, the windows are completely covered. So you can't actually look out of the window. So basically what you've got is either you sit with your group or your partner just chatting and just sitting there waiting. You can't look out the window, or if you're by yourself, or depending on where people are sitting, you might have to have an awkward eye-to-eye contact with a complete stranger because you're sitting, I'd say, probably about that far away from each other. So your knee to knee is what I would say. So if you are somebody who would rather do a 10-minute walk than have to sit in a enclosed space with complete strangers, I would recommend you walk. I know that sounds a bit funny and weird, but the other strange thing, and again it makes me think that somebody didn't think this through properly, is the music came on welcoming us to Alton Towers and look out the window at this and this. You look out the window, you can't see anything because the windows are blotted out. So it takes you to the park. It's nice and easy. It's a smooth ride. Is it worth 30 minutes? No. If you are in a larger group or group of children, or you have somebody of a fragility or unable to walk those kind of distances, the monorail is convenient. However, you would have to chalk up the difference between them standing still or moving slowly through a queue for half an hour versus a slow-paced walk to the entrance. If you're staying on property and you are a hotel guest, you can use the 5-minute walk entrance, and we timed it both times. It is a 5-minute walk. There's no joke or sales pitch going on there. It is 5 minutes. You get to the back of the park, you are scanned in, you have to provide proof of your hotel pass. So please, and I said it on the video, if you are doing this, have your hotel pass available, because you will just hold the queue up if you don't. And people did. They held the queue up because they didn't realise they needed a hotel pass, proof of hotel pass to get through the hotel pass entrance. Sorry, soapbox moment there. But when you get through the hotel entrance, you have Galactica, you have Nemesis Reborn, you have I think it's called Blade, which is the one of the oldest rides in Alton Towers. You're 5 odd minutes away from Alton Manor. You can walk in any direction. So if you have a hotel pass or hotel ticket, you actually can get yourself in a position where you can beat the monorail, you can beat the front door queue. You don't have to walk from the front of the park to the back of the park to get to the big ticket items, because let's be honest, that's where everyone wants to go. And if you walk through the front door, or the back door in this case, but if you walk through, and we got in early, when we got to the front, they let us in at about 10 to 10, I think it was. So we got in and everything was fine. We had to wait for the rides to be turned on, but take your pick. Do you want to go on Galactica? Do you want to go on Nemesis Reborn? We can get over to Alton Manor. We were right there in the thick of it. Versus the other time when we came through the main doors, you take the monorail, you have to then get in the queue, you have to go through the queue, you then have to do another pass, you then have to walk all that way. If you want the proper experience and you want to enjoy the initial entry to the park, it makes absolute sense to do it at the front. But if you're staying on property, genuinely use the entrance. So As an extension to what I was just saying about the hotel entrance, a really good tip that I want to give you, and I believe this is invaluable, is you can use the hotel park entrance as a general exit. So if you are remembering what I've just said, that it is a 5-minute walk from Galactica, from the exit, so the park entrance slash exit to the hotel. The hotel car park is directly next to the general car park, and we did this on our last trip. You can walk out the back door, walk 5 minutes, 6-7 minutes in this case, and we were there at our car. Versus you get all the way to the back of the park, you then have to walk all the way back to the front, you have to queue for the monorail, and we never use the monorail to get back, so I'm going to assume there's probably a 20-30 minute wait in the same kind of a way. Can't prove that, but if you do know that, do comment below. And then you've got to take the monorail round, and then you get to the car park. It seems nonsensical to me to do that if you're not aware. So when you're at the back of the park, you walk past the Nemesis Reborn store. Nemesis Reborn is to the left. The roller coaster restaurant is to the right. Galactica is to the right. The big ring of Galactica, which you go through with the air, is just to your left. You will see, I think it was purple in our case, a purple kind of canopy, dear me, can tell it's been an hour. A purple kind of gazebo kind of like thing, covering of some description, and there will be hotel or members of staff present. If you walk up and you just walk out, you don't have to stop, you don't have to show them anything. They will say thank you for visiting, see you later. You walk straight, you'll have the Crazy Golf to the right, the first hotel, which is the Water Ride Hotel, and then the main Alton Towers Hotel. The monorail is to the left. It's 5 minutes, you're in the car park. Save yourself a lot of time. The caveat with that I would say is if you are coming in through the front of the park via the monorail or the walking entrance, which we didn't do, maybe we'll do in the future, the 15-minute walk, just to see how that compares. It would make absolute sense for you to plan your day around the fact that you should finish your day near Galactica and Nemesis Reborn. So if you are one of these people who jumps straight in, runs to Nemesis Reborn, leaps on Nemesis Reborn, and then works their way to the other side of the park, you've then got yourself a little bit of a walk back. I'm not saying you have to plan everything out in advance, and who cares if it's a little bit extra walking, it's well worth it. But just be conscious of the fact that there is Galactica, Nemesis Reborn next to this exit. And if it's a busy day in the park, you might want to organise your way round to that particular area, as opposed to just starting in there and coming backwards and forwards. Utilising the fast track system. Now, fast track is a tiered promotion that Alton Towers and I assume the other theme parks offer, which is you have the ability to pay one-off fees to either go on one ride and jump the queue, or you can pay for like a pass for the day, which allows you to fast travel all the other main rides once. It starts at about £9 and can go all the way up to about £32-33. Is it worth it? It depends, is what I would say entirely. We went on a non-public holiday, non-school holiday day. There were schools there, not just UK schools, other schools were there, because obviously they do these trips. We went on a Monday, a Tuesday and a Thursday. And with the exception of Spinball Whizzer, which for reasons unknown went from a 25-minute wait to a 50-minute wait, and about a 50-minute wait to get on 13, I think the longest we had to wait for something after that was maybe about 20 minutes. Alton Manor, Wicker Man, they were all practically a walk-on, which is about 5 to 10 minutes, if we're being totally honest. As with all theme-based rides of this description, the ride queues are designed to pique your interest and to occupy your time. So if you see the ride says 5 minutes, it will probably be 5 minutes, but actually you're missing another opportunity, which I haven't touched on in this list, but I'm thinking about it now, which is going through the queue and picking up on little details, little extra experiences and things. For example, Alton Manor, you get to go through the graveyard, there's lots of graves, there's lots of clues, there's lots of puns and jokes, there's a plaque which gives you some information about where you're going. You miss out on a lot of things, but similarly, And I did see this in the park. There were a number of rides that me and Joe literally, as I say, walked on, 5, maybe 10 minutes most. But we witnessed people using their fast tracks to jump the queue, and it was just pointless. Which to me, it doesn't make sense to spend money on those kind of days without having some kind of foreknowledge. Now, I know some people out there will say, well, I want it all booked in advance. I want a guaranteed ride. I want to be able to definitely get on this. The fast track doesn't guarantee you a ride. The fast track just guarantees you a faster wait time. So it's one of those situations where it's not a guaranteed time. It's not a placeholder time similar to the fast passes with Disney World. This is okay, you can go on this once via the fast track queue. I appreciate I'm rambling it a little bit, but there's a lot to kind of get through, and I want to make sure I'm covering it properly. When you're there on the day, the difference well, it's not even a difference, but the thing that I like about the fast track is you can purchase it at any time. So my big advice to you, if you are going on a weekday, if you are going during non-public holidays and non-school holidays, don't buy the fast track in advance. Wait until you are in the park. If you walk up to Wicker Man and it is a 15-minute wait, and you've already invested between 11 to up to £30, depending on the type of pass you've bought, that's money wasted. But the difference is, if you walk up to Wicker Man having not bought a fast track and it says 50-minute wait, you can get the app and you can buy a fast track for that ride right there and then, show it and go straight on. So time is money in this circumstance, but don't feel you've got to buy all these fast passes up in advance, because certain rides, they're not, I don't want to sound again like I'm criticizing, but there are rides I would not pay extra to go on. And some of those rides, a couple of rides, I mean, the Mine Train, for example, was a great ride, had a really good time, was really lucky to get that 3 goes on it. If we only got 1 go on it and I'd spent £9, I probably would have been quite disappointed with that. So manage your expectations, manage your wallet, value your time. If you are a family, because the park doesn't open till 10 a.m. If you're a family and you've got kids who are up and awake and ready to go, and you are up and able to get there, get to the park a little bit earlier, get in a queue straight away, hit some of the big rides straight away. You haven't had to pay anything. It might have cost you 15-20 minutes extra in bed, but just don't assume you've got to buy fast tracks all the way up front. Wicker Man, we got there I think 5 to 10, because we got in early and walked straight through to Wicker Man because we wanted to do that straight away. We were off it by 10:20, and that's at an £11 fast track per person as well, it has to be said. It's a fast track per person, not per group. So if there's 4 of you and you've invested 4 passes, there's no difference between child and adult fast track as well, as far as I could see. So if you go on, you spend £44 to take your family on Wicker Man faster, and you get there at 10 a.m. As park opens on the day, to discover it's a 10-minute wait, you've wasted £44. So I'm really sorry, a little bit of a soapbox moment for me there, but I do think that it's really easy to get drawn into spending extra money without knowing what you're going to get. Every day is different at Alton Towers, like with all theme parks. The weather, the time of year, all these things can change it. Photo passes are different. I think photo passes are something that you probably should invest if you know you're going to get in advance. If you know when you get there, Wicker Man, 13, that's worth the £25 to get those photos, particularly if there's 3 or 4 of you, as opposed to spending £40 on a fast track ride for Alton Manor to get to Alton Manor to discover it's a 5-minute wait. That ride was popular, Alton Manor. It never had a higher wait time of 5 minutes though. We walked on it every time, no issue whatsoever. It was busy, there were people getting on it, there were people in the ride queue, there was people all over the place, but at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, it was still 5-minute wait. Save your money, plan in advance. Plan what you want to go on, plan where you want to go, plan if you want to spend money on food. Will you take a packed lunch instead? Do you want to save money? I appreciate that people want to go on the theme park experience, want to go in the restaurants and things like that, but do you really want to spend that kind of money on a burger and time? Or you get yourself you make yourself a packed lunch. Hate to say it, it can be a bit healthier, a little bit in between, a little bit of snack and savoury. You can get yourself a beautiful view in the garden. You can go and sit up in the gardens, take in the sights, take in the animals. Or if you want to eat fast food, if you want to do fast food, do whatever you want to do. I'm just trying to warn people in a positive sense, not in like, oh my goodness, this is a really bad thing. It's important that you weigh your day up. It can be very expensive if you're not careful. If I'm going to a theme park, I know I'm going to spend money, so I will budget accordingly. I then get there and I discover 2 burgers, 2 sides, 2 drinks, £50. But when you're in that theme park magic, oh, of course you've got to do it. Oh yeah, let's do it. And then I don't want to say you get buyer's remorse, but when you then look back and you think, wow, I just spent £44 on fast tracks for the family when we walked on, and I just spent £200 at the roller coaster restaurant, when if we'd just done this, I could have saved a lot of money, saved time. It would be a really nice memory to sit up in the garden as a family, take some photos and all this kind of stuff. And that is essentially free if you think about it. It's just the cost of your own stuff for your lunch boxes. But that's entirely up to you. As I say, a little bit of a soapbox moment. You do you. You go to Alton Towers in any park the way you want to. You buy whatever merchandise you want. You can brave the weather in your shorts and t-shirts if you want to. You can fast track every ride. But for me, I just wanted to spend some time giving you these little tips and tricks, because had I known, we probably would have taken lunches day 1 and done that, and then maybe splurged on day 2, as opposed to having to spend more and more each day. It can become a very difficult net to get out of. One thing I would say to conclude then, because I don't want to speak too negatively or come across as too much of a get off my lawn kind of guy, is I was really impressed with Alton Towers. I think there was maybe a misconception on my part that it was old and tired and a bit boring and a bit run down. There has been a big investment on that park. The only thing which we couldn't ride other than 13 Smiler and Oblivion, because we just missed them. Hex was down for refurbishment, so we look forward to Hex coming. But the place was really good. All the rides have clearly been given some facelifts and retheming, and as I say, it was aiming for thrills, leaning slightly more into the horror aspects of it, but still staying family friendly. We had a really great time. That is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the videos that we have done, day 1, day 2, and the hotel tour. They were an impromptu visit. They weren't necessarily designed with a game plan. This is very early days on the channel. We keep learning, we keep changing things, so I just wanted to get us out and about and give it a go and see how it worked. So if you did enjoy it, please do share, please do subscribe as well. I can see there's a decent number, well, a fairly decent number of watchers. If you haven't already subscribed, please do, because there is intentions not only to do Alton Towers but other theme parks. There's a lot of horror content. There's going to be quite a lot of content coming up relating to the Wonderful World of Doctor Who and Big Finish. So it's not just going to be theme park vlogs. I have plans to do all kinds of different things. But if you're an Alton Towers fan, if you're a Merlin attractions fan, if you're a hotel fan when it comes to these kind of theme parks, do like and subscribe, because the plan is to go to these. And with that being said, until next time, stay scared.